Welcome to Discovery Watch with John Kaiser.
I'm your host, Jim Goddard. Welcome back to the show, John.
Jim, pleasure to be back on the show.
John, did Yorbo Resources hit or miss at its Moine VMS target?
Yorbo Resources did hit the target during the third week of December, and it did hit the Moine horizon. But while the sulfides had visual evidence of copper and zinc sulfides, the sulfide interval was only 0.7 meters thick, and only 3% of the rock consisted of iron and base metal sulfides. In order to be massive and be a booming conductor, you need 40% plus base metal sulfides. And so this was not what they were looking for. Now, the first hole that they had drilled down to 1,200 meters, starting in late October, they reached this at the target in late November, and they did encounter they went straight into the Gabbro dike, which is a post-mineral dike that has come in and it's cut through the Moine stratigraphy that hosts the original, now depleted Moine VMS deposit. And so when they dropped the downhole geophysical probe into that initial hole, they saw that the conductor was off to the east, less than 20 meters away, and that deviation of the drill had made them miss this 350 meter high, 150 meter wide EM conductor, which the only obvious explanation for something like that is massive sulfide mineralization. So they did a wedge hole from higher up, and when they reached that target, there was no explanation. They know they are in the middle of the target because they now have two downhole surveys. The original survey was done from a 1980 hole, and then when they did it from the wedge hole drill, or the original pilot hole drilled from the southeast towards the northwest, they had some pretty good data to vector where the target is. So it's a bit of a head scratcher for them right now as to why they only encountered this short interval of 3% sulfides. So they pulled in the geophysical crew again to do another downhole survey, and we were supposed to hear the results on the 21st of December, because that weekend they were going to have that probe done. And the crew did arrive, and it got the probe down there. But before they could get a proper reading, the probe got stuck, it jammed, and as they were trying to get it out, the Quebec government ordered all non-essential workers home due to the COVID pandemic. And so the crew gave up, left the $10,000 gadget down the hole, and went home. So they, at this point, do not know whether the conductor is off to the side somewhere, or whether they are possibly right in the middle. Because in this type of VMS seafloor setting, where there's a lot of earthquakes due to volcanic activity nearby, you can get rafts of debris actually flow into the VMS pile where the smokers are building up the VMS system. And this is like a xenolith that they might have gotten unlucky and drilled right into it, rather than the massive sulfides that are all around it. So the Quebec government has said stay-at-home orders until January 11th, so nobody can go into the field to resume work. Once the go-ahead is given that workers can go back into the field to do exploration work, the geophysical crew will come back. They'll try to fish it out. If they can't, then they'll put the drill back into the hole and basically ream it out. Just grind this $10,000 gadget to bits, and the crew will then drop the probe into the hole and hopefully get a proper reading. And if it is indeed all around, they'll have to back up and do another wedge hole to bypass whatever it is that they managed to get unlucky and hit. And this reading will also help them better see target 2, which is on the other side of the Gabbro Dike, because they were quite disappointed that when they drilled through the Lemoyne Horizon, they plowed right into the Gabbro Dike again. And of course, that thing's a couple hundred meters wide, so there's nothing beyond that. It has come through this area and basically cut through this stratigraphy, which dips to the southeast. And Sylvain Lepine mentioned, there's one potential negative outcome, which is that there's a flexure in the stratigraphy in this area, which if it goes in one direction, then we will have problems trying to hit this massive sulfide if it is indeed present. But if it's the way we think it is, then we will have a good shot at hitting the target 1 with another hole, and they will definitely go back in and drill target 2, which they should be able to see better now, and they will drill that from the north to the southeast, drill through the footwall into the hanging wall, rather than this pilot hole which has been drilled from the hanging wall through the footwall. So the Lemoyne story is still alive. It's frustrating that it's on hold, but for Discovery Watch next year, we'll be continuing to monitor Yorbo's Lemoyne VMS drill play.
We'll have more with John Kaiser right after this.
Value from success. Growth in discovery. Golden Arrow Resources is a well-funded gold-copper exploration company with proven management and prospective properties in Chile, Argentina, and Paraguay. Golden Arrow trades on the Toronto Venture Exchange, symbol GRG, on Frankfurt, symbol G6A, and the OTCQB, symbol GARWF. For more information, visit us at goldenarrowresources.com or call Sean at 778-686-0135.
Media recognition from Bloomberg, Reuters, recycling trade publications. Patented process for 100% recovery of critical metals, including cobalt, lithium, nickel, manganese, aluminum. American Manganese is focused on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. American Manganese trades on the TSX Venture, AMY, the US, AMYZF, and Frankfurt 2AM. For more information, visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
Welcome back. We're speaking with John Kaiser. John, did Golden Goliath ever find gold at its Quai project?
The first 11 holes drilled in the western part of the Quai project did not assay any gold above 50 parts per billion, which is pretty disappointing because earlier this year when they did their basal till sampling program, they had come up with pristine gold grades to the west of Beauregard Lake. And they had done an IP survey there too, so this showed that sulfides are present. So they figured, okay, this will be a great place to start drilling. And they did encounter sulfides. They did encounter all kinds of good rocks that you would associate with gold mineralization in and around the packwash structure itself. But there was no gold result. And so Paul Sabara and Bob Middleton have been scratching their heads about this, and two developments have emerged which give hope that this play is still alive, that gold remains to be found. And the reason we believe that gold should be present in this system is that the Packwash Fault, based on a lithoprobe study the government did a decade or so ago, links to a crustal break that also feeds the Red Lake district farther to the north, and the LP fault structure where Great Bear has found lots of gold mineralization and currently has a $750 million valuation. They finally started getting the geochemical assays, which is the full 42 element suite, and this is very important because when they plot this up, they can see that a change in the geochemistry of the rock as they move eastwards towards Beauregard Lake. And they were able to drill a hole on the edge of Beauregard Lake, but not really into it. And this lake straddles about 2 kilometers of the east-west running Packwash fault structure. And when you get lakes like this, they have clearly been gouged. They're not super deep, but they've been gouged out by glaciers because the rock underneath is more brittle, more easily weathers more recessively, and that often is the place where mineralization is present. And they've also done some further digging on what the actual ice direction is in this area. They had been operating by the assumption that the glacial direction was from northeast to southwest. And so when they found these gold grains to the west of Beauregard Lake, they figured it's coming from some zones associated with that packwash fault structure and its various plays. But now they say this stuff probably came from under Beauregard Lake. And they do not have any IP data for that lake. They do have IP data for targets out east of the lake. And they spent $65,000 getting a bridge and road built so that they can access that area. They will be going back in during January to drill that target to the east of the lake. But they will also go onto the lake and do an IP survey to see what it looks like underneath that lake. And by February, that lake should be thick enough to support a drill rig. And what they're seeing in the geochemistry is a shift in an easterly direction. As they get closer to the lake, the chemistry starts to resemble more of the kind associated with an intrusion-related gold system. So they are still optimistic that a significant gold system will be found associated with the packwash fault structure, but it just isn't in the western part where they have focused all their drilling activity this year. So the Quai project, it's not dead yet. It still has a significant target left to be tested, and if the interpretation of the glacial direction is correct, the pristine nature was very likely created because chunks of sulfide, which encased the gold grains from the zone itself, would have dragged westward, and then after the glaciers paused, the oxidation would have rotted the sulfide away, and the gold grains in their original crystalline form would have been left in the basal till to be found. So they are locally sourced, but just in a different direction from where they have been doing all their drilling.
We'll have more with John Kaiser right after the break.
Avon Resources Limited is a gold exploration company with significant projects in British Columbia and the Yukon, trading on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol ABN, and the OTCQB, symbol ABNAF. Surrounded by world-class gold deposits and mines, Avon's 23,000 hectares Forest Kerr Gold Project is located in the heart of the Golden Triangle in northwestern BC. For more information, visit us at avonresources.com.
Engineer Gold Mines is focused on the exploration and development of the historic high-grade Engineer Gold Mine situated 32 kilometers southwest of Atlan, British Columbia. Engineer Gold Mines is fully permitted for surface and underground exploration with the drill program now underway. Engineer Gold Mines Limited trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol EAU. For more information, please visit us at engineergoldmines.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with John Kaiser. John, did Triorigin Exploration ever get funded for its Sky Lake Gold project?
We've talked about Triorigin on Discovery Watch for several years now, and late last year, Bob Valiant attempted a private placement that included making the private placement available for people who are not millionaires under the existing shareholder exemption. And he even got a waiver from the stock exchange allowing him to do it below 5 cents. The stock was around 2 to 4 cents. And it had 120 million shares out. So it was understandable that the stock was cheap. Last year we were still in the throes of a bear market, but he only got a tiny portion of that financing done. And the message he got from everybody on Bay Street was, you need to do a rollback, then come back to us. And so he finally decided to do that, got approval for a 10-for-1 rollback, which pretty much dismayed everybody who had bottom fished for this company and understood that it had several projects that if it could get some proper funding, could really turn this thing into a great discovery story. And he finally decided to do a 5-for-1 rollback, got it done in August. Again, the exchange held it up. And by late August, the strong market that began in May, it had peaked in early August when gold started to retreat and ended up back below $2,000 an ounce. After the rollback, he had a financing announced, but he had done it without any warrants. It was a 36 center, and there was also a flow-through component at 42 cents, and he had a U.S. group lined up that was going to take all of it. But the U.S. group got blindsided by the retreat in the market. In fact, it's quite stunning how poorly gold producers have done since the August peak. I mean, even Barrick is trading below $30 even after delivering stellar results. So there is some sort of market backlash against gold producers going on. So he changed the price to 32 cents, but even that was not enough. The group that he had lined up weren't able to complete the financing, and then the stock collapsed all the way to 11, 12 cents, and it looked pretty hopeless. But then he finally got the attention of the Osisko team, which is headed by Sean Rusin and Bob Wares, and they looked at this and they came up with a plan. Okay, you do a financing with a full warrant at 12.5 cents, with a warrant good for 2 years at 18 cents, and two of our companies in our stable, Osisko Mining and O3 Mining, they'll take down $700,000 over $1.5 million financing. And with us backing this story, we're pretty sure you'll find other buyers for the rest of the financing. And so Bob also said, well, we'll also have the option to increase it to $2.5 million. Well, as soon as this news came out that Osisko Mining, which owns the Windfall deposit on which over $200 million has been spent to outline a high-grade 6 million ounce resource, and O3 Mining, which was the spin-out of all of Osisko's other assets besides Windfall, when they were going to put up $700,000, all of a sudden he was oversubscribed. He announced it on December 17th. The next day he said that, put out a press release saying, we are going to do the extra $1 million, plus we're doing another $250,000 at 13 cents. The stock had doubled into the 20s, and now this is oversubscribed. It's supposed to close by the second week of January, and he plans to use the money to start drilling at the Sky Lake project, which is in Western Ontario in the Pickle Lake Greenstone Belt. In 2016, he optioned a project with which he had been associated with in the 80s when he was exploration VP for LAC Minerals. It's the Koval deposit. It had been drilled in the 50s by the operator of the Pickle Lake mines, somewhat to the northeast, which had produced 3 million ounces during their lifetime, and basically shut down before gold was allowed to become free trading rather than just be priced at $35 an ounce. And LAC had drilled some peripheral targets to the original Koval zone, which has a non-43-101 compliant resource, but it's not very big. The Koval itself had only been drilled to a couple hundred meters depth. LAC's efforts in the surrounding area showed some promise, but the management never gave Bob a mandate to do further exploration. In 1994, LAC was swallowed by Barrick in a $1.6 billion deal. And in 2016, Bob was able to option this Koval project from Barrick, for whom it was way too small and uninteresting. He had, through Triorigin, assembled 27 kilometers of strike of this Pickle Lake Greenstone Belt, which has potential for iron formation related gold zones. And they've done additional IP surveys in the vicinity of the Koval deposit. They will go in there and drill deeper, because this type of system can run considerably deeper than was assessed in the past, and also assess a long strike, and also parallel targets where IP work Triorigin has done has shown potential for additional mineralized sulfides that could be gold bearing. So from a company that ended up being struggling for the past year and a half to raise money, they're going to end up with $2.5 million in the treasury heading into 2021. The full dilution does put them up to about 63 million shares, but the extra dilution from those 18-cent warrants would bring in another $4 million. And with 68 million or so shares fully diluted, that still leaves lots of upside. They also have the North Abitibi project, which straddles the Casa Berardi break on the Ontario side. It's an overburden covered area, but past work has encountered the best gold mineralization on the Ontario side of the Casa Berardi break. That's something where they can also go back to work on. La Salle is to the west of their property. Detour is to the east. Detour, of course, is now owned by Kirkland Lake. So finally, Triorigin is going to be engaged in significant drill programs, and the Osisko crowd obviously is intrigued by the fact that the Koval itself is going to be a rethink, and this will be a play that requires a lot more financing because the gold tends to occur as gold shoots, so you end up needing to do fairly close-spaced drilling to properly delineate the resources. But Sky Lake could end up being a wonderful discovery watch story for 2021. I think 2021 is going to be a fabulous year for the resource sector. It is year 2 of a 3 to 4 year bull cycle for the resource juniors after a decade-long bear market. 2020 was the awakening year. I have crunched all the financials for all the companies up to September 30th. Those were all due at the end of November. And it's interesting that the companies on the TSX Venture Exchange that are in the resource sector, half of them used to have negative working capital. Only 35% of them now have negative working capital. The sector is in a lot better shape than it was at the start of 2020. I've compiled a list of 100 bottom fish companies, ones that aren't ramping up, companies that may have gone up earlier this year but have pulled back and are kind of flatlining while we wait for private placement time bombs to pass us by, and for the drilling season to resume in the new year. So it's going to be, I think, a very good 2021, and I wish everybody who listens to Discovery Watch, thank them for listening and wish them a wonderful new year in 2021.
Everybody have a happy New Year's, including yourself, John.
I will certainly do so.
We've been talking with John Kaiser, his website, kaiserresearch.com. I'm Jim Goddard.
Comments made on Discovery Watch are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any manner whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Archived online at howstreet.com. Discovery Watch is a production of How Street Media Incorporated.